Hello everyone, another week, another episode of GameTrailers of Thrones. We have a very eclectic cast joining me today. My name is Brandon Jones. I'm joined by Mr. Michael Damiani.
Hello everyone.
Who's been on the show before. Mr. Marco Rosado.
Hello.
And my wife and fantasy nerd, Amanda Troop.
Greetings.
Who has been on GameTrailers of Thrones before, but is making her first appearance, audio appearance, if you will, on this week's episode. And anything you want to judge? Did you like the episode last night?
I did.
Of course.
Yes, I liked it. What was like a favorite moment?
Anything really
last
stand
night?
out, or?
I mean, obviously Tyrion's trial speech was phenomenal, so I was really pleased with that, and I'm glad that I feel like that was pretty faithful to what was in the books. So I was, as a book fan, I was happy to see that in there.
We are going to watch the episode and chat about it and hopefully get through this as quick as possible. We got a full cast this time, and it was a very exciting episode. So exciting, in fact, that before we even get into the episode, we have to talk about the intro, because it's the first time, and you missed it last night, Amanda, we see Braavos.
I saw half of it. Yeah. I was looking away for the wrong moment. Oh, so cool.
I like that. It's pretty good.
The coins going down a little Plinko machine, little coin bank.
It's like, yeah, have you ever had one of those banks where you put your coins in at the top and then they go down like a roller coaster? It's like that.
So the Braavos coin bank available on HBO, the store, on the HBO.com.
Yeah, Comic-Con, they'll have it there.
Comic-Con should be exclusive Comic-Con.
They have to.
Coin bank.
I'll be looking for it.
I wanted to pause that moment of the intro, but other people were watching it, so I didn't. I wanted to see if the House of Black and White is there.
Oh.
You know.
Yeah.
Something later on.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. I know, we could go back.
Well, we still need to talk about Braavos because we're still in Braavos. We start the episode in Braavos with an absolutely gorgeous. You've talked a little bit about the CG on the show.
Gosh.
This is a gorgeous shot.
This is probably the best CG shot so far in the show. Yeah.
And it's interesting to look at the whole season, 10 episodes ahead of time, and them to kind of cherry pick all of these moments and think, okay, the dragon, freaking out the herder girl who goes running off when he grabs the goat later. A shot like this, these are really pivotal moments that we need to drop our budget in and remind you of how big this world is, how opulent Braavos is, how dangerous the dragon is. Yeah. I think the CG's been invested well. The scene with the White Walkers.
Yeah.
Good CG this season.
Yeah, and you don't want to use too much of it, otherwise it becomes...
like a Marvel movie.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, explosions, carriers, I don't care.
Especially since Braavos right now it's a room. We don't. The windows are lit, but it's kind of like the Daenerys scene last season, where it's like we just see an open sky. It's probably on a set somewhere, so we need to feel the scope of the city. Mm-hmm. And I think they achieved it. I love it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they're gonna show exterior shots, because Braavos is kind of based around Venice.
Yeah.
And but I know they didn't have location scouting for Venice this season, so maybe I don't know.
Well, they don't really need to get exterior shots quite yet.
No, not quite yet, exactly. But I think the set is amazing though. The Iron Bank set.
Really beautifully.
And those chairs.
And do you see the emblem above the door? That was cool.
Yeah. Well, it's the same emblem that's on the coins that you see later in the episode.
It's a nice touch. Yeah. And these guys were so good. Good choreography on the actors here. I loved how they sat in unison. And this smile is just like, I have all the power. You might be a king in your own mind, but numbers tell me who rules, and it's me.
They call him Lord Stannis, and then they try and correct him. He goes, no, Tommen sits the throne right now, and his uncle is...
he goes through every title.
You gotta love these guys.
First of his name, King of the Andals. It's the current... Oh, okay.
These are the greatest trolls. But you even see someone like Littlefinger, someone like Varys, someone who has power, seeks more power. And those guys seem to be kind of tense, you can definitely sense their drive, where they're not quite where they want to be yet, and they're putting on an air of everything's fine, but they clearly have machinations, they clearly have a goal, whereas these guys are just sitting in a jacuzzi. They're fine, there's...
Yeah, I think if you get to sit in one of these chairs in the Iron Bank of Braavos, you're set. You've achieved the power that you want. You are comfortable.
I love Stannis, how he just sits there, will not talk except to correct them when they say something wrong. And then, he's just correcting them, and then slowly he's like, no, actually Tommen's in the throne. And then he just goes back to, just sitting with, his chin down, just not even, who are you guys?
Not really making a case here. They tell him no, leave, and he gives up and walks away. To make such a long journey, it's interesting to see Stannis be kind of passive in the scene, which is not in the books. It's known that he has a relationship with the bank, and I think they kind of talk about this stuff. But this scene specifically, so all of this was written by the show's author. So I just thought that was.
The show's authors go into why they wanted Stannis to go to Bravos, because in the book, the character that's the banker actually goes to Westeros. It's like, okay, instead of having him go to Westeros and talk to them there, let's introduce Bravos now, because it's we keep talking about Bravos in season 1 with Syrio, or Syrio is his name?
Yeah.
Pharrell? Yeah. So, as kind of start trickling in those new settings for viewers not to get like so shell shocked later on.
Yeah, because eventually, after you keep talking about something, you have to show it, especially for TV. Otherwise, it just seems like the action's happening off screen and you're missing a lot of stuff. So, I think this was a smart choice.
Yeah, it's interesting. You brought up Asha earlier, which is Yara. That's her name in the books, and it was like, oh, they called her Asha because they didn't call her Asha because there was Asher. The wildling girl, Osha, whatever.
Yeah.
And man, I was like, oh yeah, that girl. I totally forgot about her.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to forget things
Robin,
that are just mentioned in previous
in the
episodes.
show is Robert in the books.
Right.
But they didn't want to call him Robert because of King Robert.
Yeah.
But she always called him her little Robin.
Yeah, Sweet Robin.
Yeah, so I feel like that's not so bad.
Okay, I guess.
Like they could probably still say, oh, his given name is Robert, but they call him Robin. It's like Bran and Brandon and all of that.
Hey, Brandon, so before we get out of Bravos, I think this is a small production note. I think this is the Iron Throne Room studio, because the separation of the windows on the right-hand side is the same as the separations on the windows on the Iron Throne, and they're in the same location. It's just flipped.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they just put like new stuff, but it's
I mean, how many of these beautiful type rooms are there that are also like available for filming?
No, that's the thing. Like,
You
I like that this show actually makes sets instead of like, oh, let's find an old ruin somewhere and shoot there.
I remember there was I was listening to commentary one time, and there was a Nightmare episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and she runs through all these different rooms, and they're like, we actually didn't do a special effect. This is our set. You walk out of her bedroom, and you walk into the dance club or whatever in town. They're like, that's our set's constructed, so everything just builds into something else. So yeah, very clever.
That's cool.
Speaking of special effects, I liked that they brought back the Onion Knight's missing fingers. I like that they reminded us that that's because you can forget what he
doesn't have his pouch.
He doesn't have his pouch. No, he doesn't have his finger bones. But speaking of bones, look at those tits. Oh wait, is that not safe for the podcast?
Well, it's funny. I haven't shown nudity in the podcast because I grabbed stills for the episode, and I'm like, how do I grab a still of Salador here and not show boobs? It's like almost impossible.
Put a spoiler dragon.
He is wearing boobs in this scene.
Put a spoiler dragon.
Oh yeah, put spoiler dragons over
Spoiler
that.
dragon. Yeah.
I mean, that's how they hit Daenerys. She had a spoiler dragon in the first
So glad
season.
they
But speaking of reminding us things in relation to Davos, there's also this character who people might have easily forgotten. He's in a much different setting than when we've seen him before on the show.
We see him once per season. He
There's
wasn't the
so
first,
many people,
second
man.
season.
Yeah.
He rescued Davos.
In the third season,
and
he
then brought him
rescued
back,
him.
but that was it.
Yeah.
Like to the viewer, they might have thought that was the end of him. So I think people loved him.
Earlier in this season, we see him talking to Stannis' daughter, and she asks, "Are you a pirate or a smuggler?" And he says, "Oh no, I'm not a pirate." And then he also makes that distinction with Bravos, and then he goes to visit his pirate friend. So I wonder if they were kind of setting up, the return of Salador. Wonderful scene. Do you detest the boobage on the show, or is it does it pass over you as a female?
No, neither one. I think, if you've read the books, you know that there are lots of boobs, and the boobs are well described in the books, which might be a good reason to read them.
Other things are well described in the books as well.
Yeah. So, yes, it's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But, it's sort of part of the story. I think they put a lot of it in the show, but it's, I don't know, it's HBO. So
I know I've made this joke before the
It
show,
happens.
but when a woman walks in the room, Gurm describes her for like 10 minutes, and then he's like, yeah, there's two other guys with her. He's like, I don't know, 6 foot, red hair, he's big, brawny, sword. You're like, okay. Definitely likes describing the women. But yeah, fun to get all these fun characters together. Obviously, smugglers and pirates are fun.
Interesting note about the women on the show. Quite a few of them have backgrounds in adult films. Just thought I'd throw that out
Shay
there.
does, yeah.
Shay, being the prime. Oh, and Ross? Is Ross? I don't even know.
The fake character that they added?
Yeah.
That one that I really loved?
I don't know your
Can
story
we hear?
with
Can
her.
we hear the sarcasm there?
Oh.
To me, she served very little point.
Yeah.
So,
Are you gonna make me go try to dig up a still of this woman?
no.
We're gonna look up
Well, you
all the
can.
episodes.
well,
We're getting
here we
ahead of ourselves
go.
here.
She's
It's,
awesome.
Okay, so this scene, a lot of people on the internet reacted negatively to the whole rescue attempt by Yara, because it kind of played out like, the third season at the end, it's like, I'm gonna rescue Theon. It's like, oh my god, it's gonna be a huge arc in season 4. And then it gets compressed into like a sex position mixed with, dogfighting. I don't know. Like it just didn't. I felt it didn't pay off. I mean, the fighting was cool, but her to give up so easily on rescuing Theon was kind of weird.
I think that I think that they did that because they wanted to hook people in from last season and remind people who she is and what her relationship is to Theon. But I don't think they did want this to be a big part of the plot, because in the books, some very different things happen with this character. So I think that that's why this is here, is just really as a reminder of, this is Theon's sister. This is, where he comes from, and she's a badass. And then they're gonna move on with both of those characters in other directions, because watching it, we watched it with his parents last night, and we had, the question came up, who is Theon Greyjoy? And so I think that that's not an uncommon question to wonder who that guy is, since it's been a long time since we've actually seen who he is.
I think it's also kind of like Bran. They couldn't just send Bran north. They had to give him show us why he has to go. Give us a scene where we can understand the importance of him doing that. So maybe having this, such a severe kind of break between these two characters, her realizing my brother's dead, it's over, I gotta move on. Then you can get a sense of she, what is she gonna do now? Obviously they're bringing her back in the show. They wouldn't just do that for one episode. Yeah, it is kind of quick. Kind of reminds me of Yoda fighting the Emperor. He's like, "Let's go, Emperor! I gotta leave."
And it's not a big spoiler, but in the books, that character is, raiding the North.
Which character?
Yara,
Okay.
or whatever her name is. Yeah. So that's how she is. That's her name. That's what she does in the books during this time frame.
Yeah.
And here, I guess the writers wanted to link Theon to her, so it's like, these characters all know each other still. Yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
But still, it was kind of, I don't know. Like the action had a weird payoff. Like even the way it was not to overcritique it, but the way that they dispatched Bolton's bad guys, and then at the end, Bolton's by himself with another dude. It's like, hey, let me open this gate here. Hey, you're not gonna slash me while I'm opening the gate, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also a weird positioning. He, the Bolton walks in the room without a shirt on, and Yara's on the other side of the room, and then they swap positions somehow. Somehow in the fight they just moved past each other.
Well, in season 3 they said these are the baddest MOFs in the Iron Islands, and these are the best assassins I can get. And then Bolton comes in with shirtless with a knife.
And why? I want to just ask the room, why do you think he's covered in blood here?
I thought that initially I didn't look at the blood that clear. I thought that his mistress was scratching him.
Yeah.
But then I looked at it, there's no injuries. It's just blood.
It's splatter.
Yeah. So did he torture her?
That's exactly what I was wondering. Did he kill her after sex? That was what I was wondering, because he's really sick and twisted.
No, here's what I think happened. When she came in, she kept telling, I was going to call him Reek. She kept telling Reek or Theon, we got to get out of here. We got to go. You hear the dogs barking, and then you can hear commotion. You hear them coming in. And so I think what you didn't see was some of the men that were there realizing, oh my God, there's 8 dogs in here barking. We're done. We're caught. And so they just, tried to be the front line basically on this security force that was going to come down on him any minute now. And so those were the people that he just cut through trying to get to him.
So that the blood is from other
guys he just killed right before he came in the room.
Ironborn soldiers.
Because she didn't get in on a huge boat, and there's only 5 guys with her in the room. So I'm assuming there's guys, outside that are cleaning up the. She probably in actually going to get Theon, she probably didn't bring the entire force with her into the room. They were probably all clearing out the castle.
Well, maybe there's just it's just a tiny little
she
boat.
lost a lot of people here apparently.
Yeah, NeoGaf made a gif of this. It's a scene of her from season 3. I'm gonna rescue my little brother, and then the next part of the gif, oh shit, dogs, and you see them getting on the boat.
I still think it does a good job of reinforcing how broken Theon is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if anything, I think that's what they're trying to do, because what will be coming up next, what they allude to at the end of this, is that why would Theon keep doing what he's about to do if he wasn't this broken, this beaten, and this obedient to...
That when... Yeah.
Yeah.
Also a great parallel to the previous time he was quote-unquote rescued, which turned out just to be a trick and turned out to be part of his training. Mm-hmm. And so now you just see the fear in his eyes. I'm like, oh my god, not again. Like, what a great ruse to bring my sister on me, you know?
The only thing I didn't find believable at that scene, I thought that Yara would have just, like, knocked him the hell out to carry him out of there. Like, that's how they are. Like, okay, just being like a baby, bam, knock you out, just carry him out of there. But who knows? They ran out of time.
Well, he bit him. He bit her.
Yeah, that's why I thought she was going to react by, like, slugging him. Like, that's it. We got to knock him out. He's, like, screwed.
I think it's tough to really identify with someone in his position, but, like, I really felt kind of, looking at the fear in his eyes and realizing all the things that have happened to him, like, I'd be kind of freaked out if it seemed like too good to be true, and like, like, not only am I rescued by my own people, I'm rescued by my flesh and blood, my family. It's like, no, this has to be a dream. I am officially losing my mind. Yeah. And the only thing I can do is just trust this guy to help me get me out of this.
This is how Stockholm Syndrome works. Like,
sure,
you get the person to lose all hope. He's in captivity, and the person, like, okay, this is my captor, this is my devil, my master, whatever. Mm-hmm. He tortures me, and then the captor turns around and says, "I love you," and he treats you well. He gives you a bath, and he caresses. He's like, "Oh, he loves me." So this person that you saw as an evil god shows compassion, and then the person that's being held captive starts to, like, feeling the same affection towards him and loyalty.
I want to point out this is a boy.
That's a boy?
That's a boy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought they were gonna jump ahead and show something.
What about the goats?
He's got pants on. I don't know what sex the.
Yeah. Okay, I'll buy it.
Okay, so people are not watching.
Just that you said it was a girl, and that's a boy.
So we're watching the scene of
no
the
offense
goats.
towards him.
The goats and the dragon.
It's kind of like the Maharaja and Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. Yeah. Like, as a kid, I was never quite sure. Like, take the left tunnel. I'm like, is that a what? I can't. Not sure. But yeah, delicious. I want some goat.
Nom, 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 nom,
that looks very delicious.
Bobby was really sad with that scene because he loves goats.
Yeah. Your friend Dana probably shouldn't have watched that scene.
Oh yeah, my friend Dana loves goats too.
She loves goats.
So I thought this was gonna be something else here.
She's got a badass
similar thing that
title.
happens later on, but I think they're setting this up for
foreshadowing.
They're gonna do it later, and then that will happen.
So
do we have a foreshadowing dragon?
Foreshadowing drops the shadow.
Should we add something else?
That's kind of obvious the way you just said it.
Yeah.
But I like how they handle this differently a little bit from the books. They show the commotion in the books outside, like the line, like how chaotic, how subtle this is, and then after the next person who comes in, when Daenerys is like, how many more do we have? 200 something. It's like, I liked how they did that. It was a little bit.
And I think kind of a nod to the books, because in the books we certainly got more than 2.
Yes.
Yeah, we got like 2 books worth of meet and greet at the castle.
This is like Daenerys' strongest critique in the books. Like her, in the books you pretty much see like almost every audience that she holds.
Yeah.
For like 800 pages.
Well, it's like you look at ruling from Tywin's perspective, and that's like sitting in a room with privileged men, drinking wine all day, hanging out with his family, and it's like that's how he rules. You saw how Joffrey ruled. You saw how Robert Baratheon ruled, and like this is how she's going to rule. She's like, I'm going to be very fair about it, and it's like, okay, well, I hope you're in a comfortable chair, because
fair is really boring.
You have to listen to every single person. You have to judge them, and she's clearly moved emotionally by this scene, and is like, is she going to be this emotional 200 people from now? Is she going to be able to be that sympathetic? Goats for everyone, you got to draw the line somewhere. So it's a good question. Daenerys is kind of like such an awesome character. To do this blank template of, if you're really to try to do it right, start from the beginning, get everything, get everything in your corner, make a good decision every time, all for the people. Can you do it?
Okay, now his star.
His star,
my friend, his star, this character.
So is this someone important, Marco?
So his star is different here. I don't know.
It's very different.
It's very different.
Like his star comes in here and he's like, "Hello, I'm a handsome man with Shakespearean training. Let me sway you to my cause." And you're like, "Oh, I love this guy." And in the book, he's described as like,
he's a scoundrel.
Like, yeah, he's oily. He's smelly, like with perfumes. Doesn't have earrings everywhere. Like I remember him being like kind of repugnant in the books, and this guy's like, oh no, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
And
no,
we've seen
Wow, what
his
a
daughter.
nice looking guy.
and the
seen
case
him.
he brings.
We saw him
It's
when
like so. It's
Sad.
so yeah, and it's and what? How is she to know the motivations of each master that she killed?
That's not the point. Yeah, you got to make a message, and you can't make the message by saying all these people are going to die except for these 5 people. It's like no.
Well, that was the hard decision she had to make. Was do I make this message even though it may not be just?
And we've seen this actor before when she launched the
Catapults.
collars.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys looking at her from the balcony. And it's funny, we thought there was kind of like a portly guy. We thought that was his Dar.
Yeah,
but surely it's got to be that guy, but it was this.
Okay, so
handsome,
if this is his Dar, then why wasn't he hanged with the other dudes?
Because he's not a master.
What is he?
He's the son of a master.
He's the son of a master.
Son of a master.
Okay, because I thought everyone that had the little collar thing with the
Surely there's more than
his
160 whatever of them that they.
Yeah.
that she
Well, he probably is now because his dad has died, so he's now ruling that household.
Well, he's nothing though because there's no slavery.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he just doesn't have any other outfits.
Mhm.
It's just like that's his belt. So how he can't? The robe doesn't stay on without it.
Okay, so anyway,
Who knows?
Wardrobe.
Wardrobe.
But
Yeah.
People like watching the show with me yesterday were like, oh, poor guy and everything. And it's like, when you meet this guy in the book, you immediately like, no, it's like, no, right?
Well, it's important to remember he could be lying. He comes in like, oh no,
yeah.
my dead dad who cannot defend himself and no one will corroborate my story, trust me, was the only guy who was totally against them doing that to all those things that you specifically hate a lot. Trust me.
Yeah, but in the book, like, he's lying through his teeth and he's smiling and smirking about it, and everyone knows he's being a hypocrite. And even Danny like realizes that, but still she like it's like, oh, go away, whatever. Here he's like, either he's a really good actor within the acting of the show, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just changed the character, like they've changed other characters.
It's also very dark. We don't get any close-ups of him. We get close-ups of Daenerys looking at me like, oh, doing sad face, and like, don't get any close-ups of him.
Not very close.
It's just the scene is shot very interestingly. Just for his introduction, it's not like you were saying. We all kind of had a big reaction, like, oh, it's his Dar, and I wonder if people on the show listening to this that didn't read the books are like, that guy is really someone we should focus on, or someone who's going to be important moving forward.
Yeah, in the books, like to draw a parallel, his Dar is as weird as the Warlock in season 2. That's how they describe it. He's like, with like lipstick and stuff and earrings.
Dario's
everywhere.
got a big blue beard. Everyone's a little weirder in the books than they were portrayed in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
They
that
dialed
carries
it
over
back
to
a
his
little bit.
personality, though.
So this has got to be the wackiest council ever.
I love it.
Oh,
I love
small council.
how
So good.
what's his face?
Tyrell?
Mace Tyrell was
Mace
like
Tyrell,
no, I get to be master of boats. That was decided before you were here. It's like, oh, this is such a
By the
great.
way, go fetch my quill.
Yeah, go
paper.
get my quill.
Ready.
Okay.
Oh, so good.
And Oberyn's like, I don't need any power. I'm
Well, his
good."
wife treated him.
I
so
like how a lot of times they shoot Oberyn from the crotch angle. Like watch the next time they do like a shot at him. They like to angle the camera down a little bit and shoot up so that you get like a big perspective on crotch.
Oh, he always has his legs open.
Yeah, he always does it.
He's,
Yeah,
like,
but
very relaxed.
they really drive it home. They're like, they're passionate. Passionate man.
Great to see the evolution of this council. We saw the council in season 1, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Because Ned was on the council. Poor Ned.
Poor Ned.
So interesting to see, back in season 1 when Ned was on the council, like, oh, I gotta meet all you guys. Who was there? Varys.
Varys.
Just sitting in his
Varys
chair.
and
Hasn't moved a muscle.
the Maester.
Yeah,
Varys keeps on
but
swimming.
the Maester's there because
Pycelle.
he's part of the church, and Cersei's there because
No, the
she's
Maester is
family.
not part of the church.
Isn't a Maester doesn't a Maester
No,
have
a
to be on the
Maester.
council?
A Maester is part of like the.
It's a doctor.
He's like a doctor. Yeah, he's like the big professor.
No,
It's
yeah.
they have a school that they go to, and then they graduate and become a maester from that, and they earn their chains.
That's right,
So
okay.
each maester
Yeah, he has
is
to learn all
assigned
the
to,
different
but
schools. That's right.
the church is
Church
separate.
guy is
Church
something
guys.
else.
So
Yeah.
he's
That'd be
so
important.
he's on the council. So to be on the council, you have to get an invitation from the Hand or the King, or the acting king, or the regent.
He's the
or-
Grand Maester.
Yeah.
So he's the highest ranking maester in
think
Westeros.
But is he automatically on the
The
council
king.
because he's
I
the
think
Grand
he's
Maester?
a Grand
I think
Maester.
the king,
Oh, he's a Grand Maester.
Yeah, I
it's
think that
king
there
can
are
do what
more
he
Grand
wants, right?
Maesters.
I mean, I don't know if there's any
Right.
established
The
rule. in
question
book,
being-
I think
but-
the Hand gets to choose the council.
The-
Okay.
And the Hand
yeah.
and the King, like, they're supposed to, like...
Because Tyrion,
plan it out.
Because
Tyrion-
Tyrion changed people as he saw fit when
Yeah.
he didn't trust people.
Okay.
And he like figured out who was
Because
the
you
liars.
yeah, you
or
bring
the betrayers.
it's like how when the president gets elected, he gets to, like, you know,
My
His cabinet.
have his cabinet,
Yeah.
his advisors.
So really quick here, this is the longest we've seen these characters talk about Dany ever.
yeah,
yeah, that
That's
was
a big deal.
exciting.
Is this
Yeah.
the same as the
Yeah.
book? Did they
No.
like? Did they didn't
No.
know all this information? It seems like they're getting like
In the book,
the whole
they're
story.
more dismissive about dragons.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. What are you talking about? This
Whispers.
is, yeah. Whereas Varys believes it because he actually has more spies and he actually trusts his spies. Whereas, yeah, like here, like even Cersei's like they're baby dragons still. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it, right? It's interesting. It kind of shows that the show is kind of like moving forward a little bit faster than the war stories in the books because these characters are acknowledging Dany as something that'll come down eventually, which has to happen.
Yeah.
So.
It's crazy that season 7 is going to be, I think, great. You know, it's like as much as I complain about, you know, like, it sucks that we don't get to read these books. It sucks that it's going to be all wacky, you know, in this evolution of the show that we aren't going to get the books to support it. We're all going to be on level playing field. It's going to be kind of fun. I mean, we're not going to know, you know. We're for sure none of us are going to answer our phones or text anybody while those episodes are going.
That's
None of us are
true.
going to know anything. You know, that first episode
Oh,
is
boy.
going to get more views than like
I think it's
anything
gonna
I can
happen before we get
imagine.
to
You know,
season
the first
7,
episode
though.
of season 7.
Yeah, it's gonna
Like
happen next season,
Is there gonna
man.
be stuff next
Yeah.
season? I feel that we're gonna start getting more
Oh,
into
but
that
there's
uncharted
so
territory.
much still.
But I don't know if they're gonna want to go over all that stuff. I think
No, Gurm is not gonna finish. I mean, that's just
No,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah,
he's
he's
not
not
gonna
gonna
finish
finish
it.
before.
I mean, there's
but-
still a lot. There's still a lot for season 5. But I think definitely when we get to season 6
Yeah,
of the show,
definitely.
we're gonna,
I think- yeah,
I don't know what they're gonna do at that
But as you were
point.
saying, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
And as someone, a fan of the books, I'm excited to see this
Exactly.
on a TV show that's well paced, you know, and you know, well done, and it's not like some shitty, you know.
Scene is so good.
I've talked a lot
CBS show.
on this about. Last week I actually talked about comparing Game of Thrones to the UFC, where it's just like who's fighting who. So it's just great to see every scene set up. I bet the scene breakdowns for Game of Thrones are fun for people who haven't read the books, and just to look at and see like Oberyn and Varys, it's like, oh, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see those two characters talk. This super sexually charged warrior against this
And
guy
the
like
completely-
never picked up a blade. Well, probably has, but like
Well,
certainly
he
doesn't.
doesn't
you
need
know,
to.
certainly doesn't
He
wield
probably-
a huge sword.
But he's a eunuch, so you have the eunuch and the oversexed person talking about their perspectives on the world and what power is, and it's a very interesting scene.
Oberyn said in this season, if you aren't into men and women at the same time, you're missing out on half of the world's pleasure. And various counters with like, if you're messing around with any of that stuff, you're missing out on everything else. You're letting that dominate your life. He's like, and if you can give up that, you know, and not in a like, you know, pious religious sense of like, no, I'm giving myself over to a higher power because I don't need, you know, the flesh. I don't need temptation like that. And he's like, no, you just, you know, you
Wow.
commit wholly to a goal. He's
Yeah.
like, and that's what I do. That's every moment
Yeah.
of my life is trying to
The
get to.
That glance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and-
Glance and then the reaction from Oberyn.
I mean, I kind of don't like him nodding towards the throne because I don't think Varys wants to be king. He wants to control the king.
No, but
I think there's something
Not even
better than being
control.
king.
I think he wants to have a good king
Yeah.
on the Iron Throne.
But I
And
think that the glance is so good because it's misleading. It's,
Yeah.
people don't know.
His
Yeah.
reaction.
Even
his
Auburn
is
reaction
like,
kinda
"Girl, you wanna be
"Huh,
king?"
wait,
Yeah.
what?"
I think Varys does that on purpose to plant doubt. I don't think that glance means what Oberyn is interpreting it as.
Well, when people, I mean, people remember his scenes with Littlefinger, like it's obvious that Varys is not seeking to be a king or anything like that. He just wants for shit to run right, you know, and it's.
which is harder than it looks.
No, well, because he was very cruelly, you know, he went through a very cruel childhood, and he knows. I mean, hello, look.
Yeah.
And he knows what powerful evil people can do to, you know, the innocent, and he's a cause for good, I guess, in the end, even though he does dubious
Yeah.
things to get there.
Yeah. Oh.
Is it the trial for the rest of the show? What other scenes do we
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they spent a long time on it.
Wow.
No
Well, they
way,
had the
really?
scene between Jamie and Tywin during the break.
Oh yeah,
That's part of the
right.
trial.
Yeah, during
That's
the
the intermission
proceedings.
of the trial.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow. Okay, well let's just get into that.
That's-
Oh, and there's
Tommen.
little
Um,
Tommen.
I like
Not so little anymore.
I think. Well, no, I think this further confirms. I'm glad they made Tommen older. So you just
Yeah.
imagine like like a 5-year-old being like,
Uh,
"I Tommen, first of his name." I think it just he puts a little more weight in it. It creates a little bit of conflict between him and his father. It's like Jaime has to come in, even though he's Kingsguard with the prisoner. It's like brother and brother, and like. The king has to stand up and point at the accused, even though it's uncle and nephew. Well, yes, uncle and nephew.
officially-
Yeah, no, but that officially because it's Cersei, because Cersei's his sister, so he's the uncle of Tommen.
Okay.
Even though
okay.
he doesn't know that
Yeah, he's also
it's
Yeah.
not out there that
Yeah.
Jaime. Well, it
He's
is,
still
but
his
not
uncle no matter
proven.
what. Yeah.
But just this tension, and then the Hand, who's also blood. It's just this big family feud.
Yeah, that's just his thing. Now this time on Family Feud.
But they got to make it official.
Well, this is like, is this a third time Tyrion is under the spot like this? He was at the Eyrie,
Oh yeah.
and no, I think that was
No,
it.
I think it's 2 times.
Yeah, this is the second time he's on
It's
trial.
really.
But we've
yeah.
certainly been
Yeah.
given a demonstration of trial by combat, which this eventually
Yeah.
leads to.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Even reading the books, I was always like, trial by combat. Why doesn't everyone that's guilty just say trial by combat?
But you know, right?
Huh?
There's lots of
Well,
reasons.
Yeah.
One, it's basically flipping a coin, and it's
Yeah.
not like.
But if you know you're guilty and you know you're gonna be
But
found
you
guilty,
don't know what the sentence is going to be.
Oh,
What you
okay.
can do is try to defend
It's-
yourself and say I didn't do it, and then if you defend yourself the whole time, and at the end of the trial, I thought about this a lot this morning actually, and at the end of the trial you're like I've been pleading my innocence the entire time. Then it's like okay, I will grant lenience on you because you haven't been an ass this whole trial, and it was just the circumstances of this trial that said you were guilty, so I'll let you take the black, I'll let you pay a fine. I as the
Exactly.
judge will decide what will happen to you. But if you flip the coin and go to combat, you did it. Period. You are guilty.
the
There's no
harshest-
talking out of that.
Yeah.
And so I will probably drop the hammer on you if you do trial by
Yeah.
combat and lose.
And in this
You have
situation,
no freedom then.
I
Nothing.
think,
Like-
I think in this situation,
Oh yeah.
That's
yeah.
my interpretation.
no spoilers. I'll speak ambiguously, but like
Okay.
in this situation, it probably will happen next episode when Tyrion is considering who his champion's gonna be.
Mm.
But in the books before this part, they clearly indicate who would be his opponent. They make it clear to him because he's like, "What if I did trial by combat?" Because there's a part where he's considering his options, and they tell him who the champion would be for Joffrey, and we won't spoil it, but like that seems like an insurmountable opponent, basically. Especially with Jaime is a cripple. Like you would expect him to pick like Jaime, but Jaime can't fight right now. So who would be able to stand up? But like that's another reason. Like if you're choosing trial by combat, you need to know someone who's actually good.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, trial by combat is your last resort. Trial by combat is I will not receive a fair trial. It's this or death. So better to just take the power that I can by offering trial by combat.
I think like
Yeah.
him, like the trial starting saying you're guilty of. You're being accused of regicide. You killed the king of the 7 kingdoms. That's your head's going off.
Yeah.
I think the sentence is pretty clear, and that's why they had that scene of Tywin saying, "I will make him take the black," because otherwise, like any other person would be get set stripped off.
Oh yeah. I
But
do
why
wanna,
not trial by combat?
I do want to remind you about. I think what you might have thought there were 3 times of trial by combat because there were. The Hound fought Beric
Yes,
Dondarrion for
that's what I
trial
was
by
thinking.
combat,
Yes.
which really Beric can do it because he can come back from the dead. Doesn't matter.
I like that Mirren Trant comes back. We got a little tease of Mirren Trant's name when the Hound made fun of him because he killed. They called him Illyrio earlier in the show. But
No,
it's not.
that's
Syrio?
Syrio
Farrell.
Farrell. Illyrio
Think
Mopatis
that's Sirius?
was Daenerys's
Yeah,
like,
the guy that threw the
money
wedding
man.
party.
Yeah, back in the day. It's like I
Excellent.
know this really hot.
Things are kind of dawning on Marjorie in the scene. Wait a minute. I've seen
Yeah.
that.
Oh
That's
no!
before.
But her grandma told
Yeah,
her
she just-
like, "Hey, by the way, is what
But
happened."
just really
Yeah.
cementing it. I mean, they
Yeah.
cut to her. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just kind of.
Oh man, this
Making
scene
that
with
official.
Pycelle saying the most noble child
Yeah,
in the world.
Oh, that's
And then they cut to all the characters like, what?
Yeah.
What's he talking
But this,
about?
I mean, this is
Cersei's
Tyrion's
thumb.
life. Like Tyrion's scenes are so short just by the nature of them having to put this into a show. But like all those books are, book 1 through 4 is just Tyrion getting the crap beaten out of him constantly and having to like stare into someone's eyes and know they're lying to his face. There's nothing he can do about it, but be cheeky and be funny and just drop his jokes here and there, knowing like the whole thing's a farce. Maybe that's why he doesn't do trial by combat right off the bat, because he's like, I want to see where this goes. I mean, like, I'm be given a trial. Let me do the trial. Like.
Well, and maybe he thinks there's some chance that he won't be found guilty. I mean, he didn't do it, so maybe the trial will work, and who knows, because it's not just, Cersei isn't weighing in justice. He's got Oberyn there, but so many people are up against him, and I think that becomes more and more apparent is how many people are willing to talk poorly about him.
Namely everyone.
Does he have a defense?
It's a little different, like, because the show Podrick is off already, and in the books he's supposed to be compiling a list of witnesses for Tyrion, and Tyrion's actually seriously considering his defense. He's trying to think of a way. He's like,
where's Bronn?
Well, I think he wanted Bronn for his
champion.
We won't say anything about that. But he was trying to amass his defense, and then once he saw this happening, I think he slowly realized this is a farce. I'm guilty. What is what do I do here? Look at that face.
Yeah.
So the crowd in the background, are those the nobles or something? Because
what's kind of like having a dinner with Barack Obama. It's like it's like 50,000 gold to get in.
I think it's the court. It's the royal court, and it's courtiers and stuff like that.
Because when he turns around later and says I saved you all, you should have died. It's I don't think Tyrion would say that to an average commoner in King's Landing.
Right? No, I don't think that those are.
But these people will remember it. It's like if I'm literally either going to die or have to run for my life because of all this crazy shit that's happening, then I'm gonna make you remember me. It's like if I'm, I'm not gonna if I am completely powerless to erase this, awful imp image that you have of me, then fine, I'm gonna take it.
Just want to point out, he's talking to Varys right now, and he's like, "Have you forgotten? Sadly, I forget nothing."
I'm amazed Tywin. He asked Tywin, he's like, "Can I say something to Varys?" I didn't think. I mean, for the purposes of them wanting to write that into the screenplay, it's like, okay.
But he said
say
one.
But, yeah.
He said one question.
I think
he made it a pretty long question.
Tyrion picks up on it. His face.
Tywin does.
Tywin is like, "Hey, Varys is not."
He's like, "What is that about?" We'll have to follow up with that later.
Yeah, it's not that he's lying. It's he always.
Well, time for recess.
That
everyone can go except for Tyrion. You just stay in the little booth.
Since we're in this is game trailers, I gotta point out that I was thinking of the Chrono Trigger trial while watching this.
Okay.
You play Chrono Trigger?
Oh yeah. And
remember the trial?
It's like who you talked to,
and
in
then
what
they
order.
keep bringing witnesses. It's like, oh shit, I stole the candy, and the music played in my head. I'm sure someone's gonna YouTube that later on. Anyway.
Great moment which I believe is in the books, where Jaime pleads, I will do this if you finally let him go. And he says, all right, deal.
Yeah, so quick.
He's
just holding that card back.
You think Tywin kind of planned this out, too.
Of course,
Tywin of course he knew. He was always planning on doing this, but he was like, I'm not going to tell anyone in case I can use it. Oh, I can. Great.
Hey, well, Jaime to go father children. Cersei is supposed to go marry
the
Loras.
It's different in this one. I thought it was originally supposed to be the crippled one.
No, there's characters that are not.
Okay.
It's definitely Loras.
Yeah, but she was supposed to go marry someone, and they'd be separated.
But Loras joins the Gold Cloaks. He becomes
and then they
Kingsguard,
that's going
is
further.
that? Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Heyo, sorry.
And then Tyrion goes to the wall, and he's not dead, so he's not spilling his own family blood.
Yeah.
So everything's good.
Yeah, everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
And he won't have to see Tyrion again.
I love how seriously sex is discussed amongst royal people. Like Tywin's just like, you will take off that armor,
breed.
You will go to Casterly Rock, and you will have lots of sex immediately. You will write me letters after each of your sexual encounters.
No. That's what Tywin tells Cersei. It's like, you're still fertile. You will marry Loras and breed. It's like,
which is why I always imagined. Again, we want to talk about video games. If you were to make the ultimate Game of Thrones video games, it would have to be an RTS. Like an MMO wouldn't work. Like an RPG wouldn't
there
work
is an
unless
RTS.
you have I know, but it was in the old days. It was like in the old Targaryen.
No, I think it's
old school. I remember the Targaryens being. I remember you could ride a dragon and actually whatever the Targaryen. I can't remember his name.
Aegon.
But I think if you were to do an RTS, marrying your spawn off like to other people should be a major strategy.
Yeah.
So you always have to keep in mind, like, who are my kids? How attractive are they? Who can I marry? Should I send someone over? You know, if I take an army, should I take someone like Theon? You know, and like, and then take them under my wing and then release them? You know,
Award.
but just that, just that that dynamic between these houses of marriage and love and politics and all that. It's fascinating.
That's
Especially
how it used to work too.
Of course.
You know, so it's very
I mean, and all of
interesting.
this is based on, you know, everything that happens to any king in any of these books. You know, you can easily draw parallels to works of Shakespeare and actual kings. You know,
But this specifically is based on the War of the Roses.
right.
Yeah. So, and that happened a lot there.
Just this kind of mad dash for the throne without
Yeah.
anybody really being in charge. Without anybody really being right. That's the question they bring up at Bravos. Is like, who would be a good king out of everybody? I thought it was Stannis in the books. But watching the show, Stannis is like a little bit. Stannis needs a nap.
Stannis, like when I was reading the books, I was imagining like Gerard Butler, like from Theon. It's like, you know, very resolute, you know, honorable, but you know, kind of narrow-minded.
What's funny that he's such a waif, and his brother was so huge. You know, they talk about his hammer, and he was just a giant warrior. And Stannis is like,
Stannis is not a wave.
well, he's just.
Stannis fights.
He's a big dude.
I would never see
He's
him
just
fight
not
any time on the
portly.
show ever. You've
In
never
the,
seen
in the show?
in the what season
Blackwater.
2?
In season 2, he like
Oh, that's
he
right.
was the first one up the
Yeah,
ladder.
that's
He's
right.
like, yo,
He was
like,
like,
put this
you're
ladder
right,
in.
where's Joffrey?
Which was a nice comparison
Yeah.
to Joffrey, who was hiding in, you know, back at the.
I like, well, real quick, we'll get to this, but I love when he says, at least Stannis is in his prime.
Yes.
That was-
Yeah,
that's that.
yes.
That
He's
was
level
just funny,
Space
like,
jets, and he's in his prime.
he's looking
Yeah.
good.
50 is
Um,
his new prime.
So Shay's best performance in the show, maybe.
Well,
I think
Try to
she
skip
brought
it.
it.
It's her best opportunity to have a performance. You know, like this is the best writing for her so far. And they made her look very beautiful for this scene, and they chose lovely colors, in my opinion, to make her seem vulnerable and innocent.
Well, here's the thing. In the she's hitting back at Tyrion
Right.
because she perceives that Tyrion doesn't love her and he was using her.
Right.
And that's her perspective. You know, she doesn't know the intrigues of the court. She doesn't
Right.
understand any of this
Well,
stuff.
yeah.
So and Tyrion didn't really want to explain her, or I think that was kind of his mistake. Not like leaning, hey, this is serious stuff. You're gonna die. That's why I'm sending her away. But she was just really thick-headed and didn't want to get through that. So she ultimately perceived that he is like a guy dumping a girl. So it's not you, it's me. You know, that type of thing. But that's how she's seeing it. You know, kind of like a little girl.
Or using it as an
Nice.
excuse.
Yeah, and she's like, well, fuck you, and then I'm gonna testify against you. But that she, I mean, this will ultimately lead to him dying, and that she would do that even though she loved him. Well, that's kind of like strong.
It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
I have to admit that at times I've been frustrated with the way she's portrayed on the show, because in the books she was much smarter,
Yes.
and on the show it's like she's a little bit more simple and
Naive.
blinded by love and naive, and in the books she was very smart, which is why they were so well matched.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the straw that breaks the camel's back for Tyrion? Like, I wonder if Tyrion in the whole trial is like, I kind of like, I just want to see how this plays out. Like, I'm not gonna do trial by combat so they can throw me back in my cell again. Like, no, I want to drink
it
a
is.
water and a meal and go to the trial and just sit there and see what happens, see who they bring, see what kind of crap they bring up. And then Shay comes out, and like, he was
Yeah.
not expecting
Oh,
that.
Jamie's like, hey, just lay low. We're
Right.
cool. Go to the black.
He's like,
You're gonna
okay,
live. He's like,
totally
okay, I'll
willing
do
to
that.
And here she
And then,
comes.
meow.
And he's just like, you know what? That's it. Because the one thing that he has is like, you think these negative things about me, but I know that's not myself. I know who I am. So like, I'm content with that. I don't need you to like me because I know who I am. And now they all know who he is too. You know, they all get this, his deepest, most personal thing that he hides away in his heart is just exposed, stepped on, you know, ridiculed. And I wonder if that's just what breaks him.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I think he realizes that, like, even if he goes to the wall and lives, his speech coming up, like his image, like everyone's gonna remember him as like this evil little dwarf. He's like, I didn't do any of this stuff, and you're remembering me for shit I didn't do. You know what? Like, that's it. I'm going all out. I'm gonna demand trial by combat, because if I win that, I still have a chance to, you know, realize the image of making everyone this kingdom think I'm a good person and I can do what I want. And if you guys get a this trampling on his heart here, and I think he knows, and especially in the book, he knows Cersei got to her. Like, he knows that, all right, they've got me. Like, there's nothing I can do here. I'm not standing for this crap. Like, I just remember in the book his perspective. Like, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the wall. I'll be fine there. Like, Mormont's there. He was a good guy, and Jon Snow was there. But then, like, as he sees, like, they're trying to destroy my reputation. They're gonna destroy me. Like, no, I had greater aspirations as a person. This is not gonna be my end. I think they do it a little bit differently here, showing it that, like, that's it. Like, I'm angry. You guys have just, like, broken me so much. But it is also, I believe, driven from, like, that's it. Like, you guys don't know what it's like to be a dwarf. Like, you guys are, that's it. Here's the real me. Like, I'm going to give you what you want.
But there's been 2 turning points in on Tyrion's life. Like, one is this, I think. This is, like, when he, like, completely, like, says, fuck you to the world, fuck the world. But before that, it was when his dad had the woman he married, like, when he was a teenager, sent away, and then had him watch her being screwed by a bunch of dudes and with money and all that stuff, and that kind of made him, like, disrespect women, or like, become like a the guy that you saw up until now. And now with this trial and him being brokenhearted in front of everyone and him telling pretty much the whole kingdom, like, screw you guys, now we're gonna see a different character from now on. Like, this is a guy that will truly, like, not care about trying to do stuff for the better good or anything like that anymore.
I think that when you're thinking about the show and the books, you get a lot of different takes on honor, and I think that Tyrion is a very honorable character, and he believes in good, and he believes in helping people that need help. And he's very similar in a lot of ways to Ned Stark, except that his character, he does things that Ned wouldn't have done. Like, he slept with a lot of women, he drinks a lot, and he's made more fine judgment calls than Ned probably ever did. He sees things in lots of shades of gray. And basically, I think here he's saying, I believed in the good in all of you for a long time, but now, seeing that none of you ever believed that there could be good in me, I'm just not going to defend you anymore. I'm going to defend myself.
And I'll become the monster. I wish I were the monster you want me to be.
But I'm not. I'm not a monster.
Like, we're watching this episode with the volume off, and, like, my hair is standing up. I'm just watching him just losing it. Like, it's so great.
When he says, I choose trial by combat, and you see Auburn go, like, huh?
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, really?
But I love, like, seriously digging her nails in, to her seat when he says, I didn't kill your son, but I wish I did.
Charles Dance is such an amazing, like, that guy just staring down at Tyrion, like, that was,
Yeah, it's tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
We're going into credits, gentlemen. That's how good this episode was. And this was episode 6?
Yep.
Yeah, 4 episodes left. And, man, the shit's gonna hit the fan. Like, I know 9 is gonna be absolutely bonkers, and we've seen some scenes from the next one. Something pretty awesome is gonna happen in the next episode, which I can't imagine 8 is gonna be any less exciting. So, if you have any plans for the next 4 weeks, postpone them. E3's coming up, and I know they're gonna push one episode back. I think
Memorial Weekend they don't do it anymore.
Okay,
that was when 9 was gonna hit. Remember?
Yeah.
And they got annoyed that 9 wasn't getting good ratings since that was the one that had all the stuff go down.
The long weekends.
So they bumped that back. So we'll get the last episode the Sunday right before E3. So.
Well, yeah. So that's the last episode.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So the last episode will be that, which means I will have to cut that. This is Monday. We're recording the day after the episodes air. So that Monday is the E3 Monday. It's a press conference Monday, right? June 9th? The last episode, June 8th?
Actually, we might not. So next episode is 7, right? That's this weekend, 17th. Then the following weekend, they're not having an episode. So then 8 would be the last weekend. Then 9 would be... No, 10 will be the Sunday after E3.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that episode 9, we'll probably we'll do basically a big blowout 2-hour thing, like for that last episode, or maybe a couple episodes or something. Point being, that episode E3 week is probably, if it does happen, probably won't happen until later in the week. Just because it's E3, baby. but which is exciting in its own right. But thank you so much, my wife Amanda, for coming in and
well, you're
chatting
so
with us.
welcome, my husband Brandon.
Thank you, my friends,
Arrogant,
Mike Damiani.
cruel.
Yeah, handsome, arrogant, and cruel Uncle Brandon. But I could go off on the Brandons in Westeros forever. Marco, thank you. Mike, thank you. And we'll be back next week. See you guys soon.
Bye.